as the waters start to warm up, we are starting to get some open water. And as you guys know, I love to go out and chase big smallmouth. So today's video, I really want to focus on my top 5 baits for going out and catching giant, bigger than average smallmouth bass. Now the first bait I want to talk to you about is a bait that I caught a ton of fish on, especially in the fall of the year last season. And the biggest deal was those fish were feeding up on bait fish, and they were actively feeding. They were moving around looking for bait, swimming through the water column, and these fish were coming up and crushing this bait. The bait that I'm talking to you guys about is a paddle tail swim bait. Now, swim baits get a lot of attention, especially the big hard body swim baits or the big Huddlestons, but these soft plastic paddle tail swim baits are finding a spot in every angler's boat. Now, the thing about soft plastic paddle tail swim baits is that they can be used to mimic a bunch of different types of bait fish. You can get baits that mimic shad, you can get baits that are absolutely crazy colors like this one here, this bright chartreuse, or you can go with a more natural color. And that's what I like. There are also a couple different varieties of soft plastic paddle tail swim baits. You have hollow bodies, which are extremely limp, have an extremely wide kicking action, or you can get your standard soft plastic paddle tail swim baits like your Bass Magnet Lures Shifter Shad, your Kitech Swing Impact Fats, or other baits of that same variety. In my opinion, these are the most effective ways. You can rig it on an underspin head like this, or you can rig it on a standard swim bait hook. Now, the underspin is a great way to catch those fish when they're active, but they're looking for something a little bit different than just a standard swim bait. The reason I like the underspin is because the blade underneath gives those fish a little bit something extra to key in on. If that water is just slightly stained, it will help the bait move more water and have a little bit better drawing power. When I'm throwing a hollow body swim bait, I like to throw it just on a standard swim bait hook. The 6th Sense Divine swim bait hook with the screw lock is great because it helps keep your bait on the hook a little bit longer, and I just feel like a standard swim bait hook gives your hollow body the best action possible. The second bait that I want to talk to you guys about is a bait that I use a lot during the summertime, a lot for those finicky fish, for those fish that maybe don't want to move as much and chase bait, and really those what I would like to call target fish. And the bait is a drop shot. Now, I caught a ton of fish this year on a drop shot, and there are a couple different varieties of drop shot baits or drop shot soft plastics that I really like to use. And there are 2 different types of forage I like to mimic. I like to imitate bait fish, and I like to imitate gobies. One of my favorite baits to throw when I'm imitating bait fish, perch, shiners, or other types of minnows is a Bass Magnet Lures Twitch. It's a bait you've seen me talk a ton about, and what it is, it's a little drop shot bait that has a bulbous head and then a bulbous tail. And what that does in the water is when you're fishing that bait, it's going to have a head and a tail roll. It's going to be a really active drop shot bait, not something you have to shake a lot because that bulbous head and bulbous tail is going to catch that water, kind of want to do the work for you. The other style of bait fish imitating drop shot bait that I like to use is something similar to a cross tail shad. This is the Bass Magnet Lures Fat Fry, and as you can see, it has a flat bottom, and then that tail has a little cross tail. This is a much more finesse presentation. It's something that I like to use as a follow-up to the Twitch, and it's a great way to imitate those bait fish and catch some of those more lethargic fish or fish that you might have fished over with the Twitch. So those are my 2 drop shot baits that I like to use for imitating bait fish. Now when I'm imitating gobies, there's one bait that I have a ton of confidence in, and there's one bait that I really like to use, and it's the Poor Boys Erie Darter. I don't have one with me, but what I'll do is I'll link it down in the description below. And the color that I like to use is called Mango Magic. That Mango Magic Erie Darter, especially up here on St. Clair, on really all the Great Lakes, that Mango Magic is a great imitator of the gobies that we have. It's a deep melon with some purple and orange flake, and it really imitates those gobies that we get up here, and it's just a great, little bit bigger profile, a 4-inch profile that those fish are going to eat on, and it's just a great way to go out and catch those big smallmouth. The third bait I want to talk to you guys about is a jerkbait. A jerkbait is a great way to cover water and to catch, again, typically those more active fish in a school. There are 2 styles of jerkbaits I like to use. This is a 6th Sense Lures Provoke 106 DD. It's a deep diving jerkbait. As you can tell, it has a longer bill. This is going to get down to that 6 to 7 foot range and really allow you to cover some of that deeper water. Another style of bait that I like to use is just your standard jerkbait. This is a Lucky Strike RC-STX jerkbait, just your standard depth diving jerkbait to about 3 to 4 foot of water. There are 3 main colors that I use when I'm fishing jerkbaits. This one here This is similar to an Elegee bone color by Megabass. It has a purplish blue back, those markings on the side, but the key for me is that chartreuse on the bottom. I'm not sure what it is about that chartreuse color, but those smallmouth absolutely love it. This chartreuse color stands out a lot. It's a great way to catch some of those active fish and some of those fish in that little bit dingier water. This bait here is the 6 Sense Lures 106X. It's a standard diving jerkbait, gets down to about 5 feet, and this color is the copper green shad. It's a great color for imitating the emerald shiners in your lakes, even the perch. It does have a hint of chartreuse on the tail end, but for the most part, it's a whitish body, an emerald green back, and this is a great way for imitating a bunch of different types of forage. And finally, I love to use a Pro Blue color. This bait here is the 6 Sense Lures Pro Blue, and as you can tell, it's very, very opaque. It's great for fishing around super clear water, anywhere that you have pin minnows, or anywhere that you have fish that are feeding on minnows or bait fish that are more translucent in color. This is a great color, something that I really like to throw in clear water up by Grand Traverse Bay or up north, and it's just a great way, or a great color, to get some bites and put them in the boat. This next bait has probably caught more smallmouth bass than any of these baits combined, and it's probably one of the most well-known smallmouth baits. It's a 3.5-inch tube, and as you can see, a tube is a hollow body bait with tentacles that comes off the end. And what makes this bait so great is that it's extremely versatile. You can use it to imitate bait fish, you can use it to imitate gobies or crawfish, and so basically you can cover the entire gamut of forage that those smallmouth might be feeding on. There are a couple colors again that I really like to use. This first color here is a green pumpkin with copper. I think this is a great imitator of all the crawfish. This is my go-to when I know those fish are feeding up on crawfish. This color here is the Mango Magic. It's a great imitator of the gobies, and as you can tell, it has a little bit of that orange flake with that purple in it as well. It's a great way to get bit when those fish are looking down, eating bait and forage along the bottom. The final color, and one much less talked about, is a Smoke Purple with Gold. This is a great way to catch fish in ultra clear water. Up north on Charlevoix, Grand Traverse Bay, anywhere that you get those gobies that change colors and try to blend into the bottom. Believe it or not, I've seen those gobies start to change to almost translucent, and this translucent with purple is a great way to get bit anywhere on some big smallmouth when you're around clear water. Now, this last bait that I want to talk to you guys about is one that I think is extremely overlooked, but is one of my favorite ways to go catch the biggest fish in a school, and that's on a big body crankbait. Now, I have two different size crankbaits here. This is a medium diver, dives to about 12 to 14 foot of water, and as you can tell, this one's been pretty beat up. I've caught a lot of big fish on this. And then this is a deep diver. This is a 6 Sense Lures 300 DD. You hear me talk about it a lot, and it's a great way to get bit by the biggest fish in the school. This gets down to about 17 foot of water, and I love to grind it, dredge the bottom, in about 12 with this bait. It's a bigger than average body, and what that allows me to do is attract those bigger than average, really, really hungry fish. Now again, there are three colors that I like to really use. One is like a natural bait fish color, as you guys can tell. This is a custom painted perch color from Casey at 6 cents. This is probably one of my favorite when I'm fishing for big smallmouth that are relating to bait fish. When they're relating to perch, this is my go-to. This is my baby that I've almost hung up because it's caught me so many fish. Now, the other color that I really like to fish when it's cloudier, when there's not as much sun, and when the water is a little bit dingier, is something with a lot of chartreuse in it. This is a chartreuse greenback from 6 Sense Lures, and it's a great way to attract those fish, to really call those fish in from a long distance. I can see this bait a long way, and I think it helps get me some of those bites that other people are missing, especially in that dirtier water. Now, the last color I want to talk to you guys about is a crankbait with chrome or opaque sides, and the reason I say this is I like to throw this when it's super sunny, when there's a lot of light penetration. This bait's going to get down there and it's going to have a ton of flash. If you've ever looked at bait fish underwater, whenever the sun's out, that sun's getting through, those fish have a ton of flash, and this looks exactly like those bait fish coming through the water, and so it's a great color when that water's a little bit cleaner, when it's a little bit brighter outside. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned a little bit about some of the baits that you should be throwing to go out and catch some big fish. Now, I know I left some really heavy hitters out of this mix, but these are my go-to top 5 favorite smallmouth baits to catch those bigger than average fish. If you guys enjoyed this video, click subscribe down below because I have a ton of smallmouth content coming out in the next couple months here. We're finally losing all of our snow, all of our ice, and I'll be back out on the water soon. Also, if you have any questions or comments, any baits that you think should have been in this list, let me know in the comment section below because I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you have any questions about any of the products I talked about in this video, or want to go down and check out some of my partners, Beast Coast Lucky Tackle Box, Frank's Great Outdoors, 6th Sense Lures, Bass Magnet, go down and click the links in the description below. I'll have the links to all these products down in the description for you guys because they're products from companies that I really trust. And as always, how I end all my videos, take care, tight lines, God bless, pursue your passion.